Greetings and welcome. This is Psychic Medium Roberto, and I truly hope you're doing well. Guided and inspired by spirit. Trigger warning: the subject matter is of a mature nature and deals with true crime events. Disclaimer: all cases are treated as alleged until proven in a court of law. Any names mentioned in the episode need to be presumed innocent. Right, so I'm looking at the case of Suzanne Morphew. Is that how we pronounce it? So Suzanne, and if you're not familiar with the case, Suzanne was reported missing by her husband on May the 10th, and it is presumed that she would have gone missing May 9th. There was evidence of life on this day. She had sent a text or image, I believe an image, to a companion. And when you're dealing with cases of infidelity or anything like that, murder is never the solution, and no judgment's been passed here. But murder is unfortunately not the answer. Up until this time, and I'm recording this January 21, it is 3 p.m. on the dot currently. Suzanne's husband Barry, I believe, was acquitted on charges, and of course, according to autopsy reports, Suzanne may or may not have been tranquilized before being murdered. And surprising that no one has been arrested for this. And then unfortunately her body was discovered, unfortunately, 3 years later on September the 22nd, 2023. Alright, so let's see what the numbers say. And I thought, in order to get context, it's open knowledge that Suzanne was having an affair. Each to their own, no judgment. It does not deserve an end result like murder. So Suzanne, born April 30, 1971, gives us the 4/30 outcome 3 and the 18/9 in the year that she's born. So her day number is a 34/7. And the fact that she was on a trail bike riding nature, that's where the sevens come from. Sevens love to be outdoors, exploring, adventure, anything adventurous outdoors. She's got the 4, so that reinforces the outdoor. The 4 is the outdoor number. 4, outdoor, it's a natural number. So 4 is the earth number, earth, nature, natural. 7 is the explorer. So true to her nature, Suzanne loved the outdoors. 16/7, she would have had a very good intuition. 7 is about justice, and there's always a rule that's applied to people with 7s, and that is don't mess with 7s, because karma is a bitch. Barry, I found details, October 17, 1967. He has the 23/5 in the year that he's born. He has the 10/1. And we see his day numbers 18/9, 27/9. And we see his outcomes 50, outcome 5 with all the 5s. Alright. So interesting to note, Suzanne has the 18/9 in the year that she's born, and Barry has the 18/9 in the day. So what do we see here? We see a karmic link, a karmic connection, and unfortunately, when you look in the positive, 18/9 is a very creative number, positive number actually. It's the Buddha number. It's about life, it's about death. and 18-9 brings around those murderous intentions. I would say on one hand, Barry would be quite a creative person, innovative, a bright mind, I would say. My only concern is when we have this 50 outcome 5 year. That for me, look, 5 does deal with politics on one hand, but when we're looking at an individual, and we actually note that he's got a stack of 5s here. These kind of people, and it's not necessarily always with 5s, but someone with this many 5s can bring around a lot of issues, not only for other people, but he makes issues for himself. And then again, once you make issues for yourself, is how do you deal with that, whatever's happened? Because when crunch time comes, people tend to have a different attitude because now they're forced into a corner. So, if we had to put a pressure test on here, and we acknowledge that for whatever reason the police department withdrew the charges, which I find very peculiar. So, when someone has 4s and 7s in the main, and of course there's the 9, 5s tend to bump heads with 7s a lot. In fact, 5s tend to bump heads with a lot of people. So I'm a bit concerned on Barry's point of view that he's got all of these 5s. In my opinion, too many 5s, and when you get pushed into a corner, 14-5, he can tell you a story and you will believe him, even if it's fake or if it's a lie. 14-5. 41-5, 32-5, very destructive numbers. Now you'll recall any number starts on a 0. You can go left to -100 or +100 to the right. It's how you manage yourself. But I can tell you now, there is hints here of destructive behavior. And unfortunately, 5s tend to have affairs themselves. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander, as some people would say. The only difference is when a 5 finds out they've been betrayed, they take it so personally and can lose perspective, unfortunately. So we see that Suzanne had just had her birthday, so she was in a 13-4 year. So she was a 4, she was in a 4 year. And then Barry, at the time of the disappearance and murder, he was in a 7 year. So here's another issue. And I always say if you're watching the show and the channel's going, even if you're watching this a year later, I offer free toxicity tests for partners. It's a very basic outline, but you'll get your pros and cons, a mini 5-minute reading just to compare the 2 dates of birth plus whether you're in sync or not. Because if we can avoid toxic relationships, then we should do so. Okay. The overriding concern here is, including, as mentioned, is the 18-9 in the year that she's born, and he has an 18-9. So there's a connection there. There will be a forever connection in the relationship, even though they are technically will always be out of sync. So how did they manage the whole marriage when effectively they were always out of sync with each other? On one hand, it would be interesting to see what their marriage date is, to see what kind of marriage they had. But by all accounts, and I do need to acknowledge her 2 daughters that could possibly watching the show. So I'll try to be as objective as possible, but on the surface there's unfortunately mismatch between the 2 people. On the one hand, Suzanne has a lot of 7s and he has a lot of 5s. So unfortunately, there on itself is not a good combination. So report is May 9, 2020, and I've just been reminded. Funny enough, Suzanne's case was always flashing in front of me during the past year. And when I thought, let's have a look at this, I remembered the case. And but for whatever reason at the time, I hadn't done the case. I believe at that stage they were looking at the husband because he had a tranquilizer gun, right? Alright. So on the day, so because the crime is committed in May, we've got the ever-present 5, so there's a lot of bullshit in the air here. Ever-present 5, so in this case, for example, as I've mentioned in previous cases, when someone has 5s in their date of birth year, we always need to look for distinguishing numbers that will set them apart, because I technically have to disclude his 5 as well as Suzanne's 4, because we're in a 4 year. So you can see here, we're in a 4 year, so that's all ping. Let me just say, May and being in a 4 year pings on both of them very hard, yeah. Very, very hard. So it pings on all of them, both of them. And that's also another thing I've been picking up here. There seems to be more than one person involved, but we'll go deeper. So on that day, we have a 14-5 in the middle. Now the issue with the 14-5 in the middle brings around difficulties. It brings around grumpy pants. It brings around arguments. So according to the current narrative, the husband would arrive back home this time to discover that his wife is missing. So she's been missing for a while then. Let's just check something here. Because on May 9, the fact that the day starts with a 9 is hugely problematic. Now we're talking in the context of a murder, right? So 9 brings around the issue of murder. 9. Already it's telling me murder in the air. The day before, we have a 13-4 here. So new beginnings, endings. Let me just get a read on the day before, because so in my opinion, by the end of May 9, and we see the 18-9 here, so we see the 18-9 here, which pings on Barry, and numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. 18-9. So effectively we have both of them in the middle of the day here. And when you have a 14-5, I actually recall seeing this somewhere before actually. Wasn't there another Suzanne case? Let me just check something here. I recently did another show on, let me just see here. Yeah, it looks very similar. I'll go deeper. There was a case that I did, very similar numbers actually, Suzanne Simpson. Anyway, we'll go deeper and have a look here. With this 9 at the start of the day here, I'm just wondering if there was a level of premeditation. So we go 14-5, so there's issues. 14-5 brings around difficulties, lies, bullshit, you this, you that, you this, you this. Not good. The number for tranquilizer is also number 4. That's the tranquilizer number 4. So in my opinion, by the end of May 9, when the sun went down, there's a murder that's happened here. 1899. The day starts with a murderous intention and ends with a murderous intention, in my opinion. So in the +1, when the husband reports Suzanne missing, we have a 10-1. There's a 15-6 here. Then a 19-10-1. That's, in my opinion, that's a little bit strange. So let's just say then, let's put it this way. There's already evidence that there's more than one person involved, whether during or after the fact, post their death. Because 19-10-1, 10-1, 10-1, there's a collective knowledge here. Alright, so if we look in the intention, you see in the intention, just to confirm a death, so look at the intention in the +1, we have 444s here. In fact, we have all this 4 portal here. But in the first 2 rows, we have a 444, which is a problem. So this can actually bring in the tranquilizer issue. 13, 4, and 4. So yeah, 13, 4, and it's pinged directly on 18, 9. So when the sun rose, so let's be clear. When the sun rose on May 10, there was death, 13, 4, 18, 9. Here's the 22, 4. So here where we identify where did they put Suzanne. 22, 4, Earth. She was discovered in Earth underground. But this is also pinging on Barry here. Why would Barry's numbers be pinging here? And it's pinging on him in the exact same position, and there's all these 4s here. Alright, so let's see if we can go deeper. So you'll see here in the 0, in the actual 14-5. So this is arguments, bullshit going around, you this, you that. In the same position in the intention is a 17-8 homicide. So we can surmise as a result of an argument followed by a homicide. Let's stay in that same position, homicide, which is illegal, 11-2. I've just had a bad feeling around this 11-2 because I've been wondering, what is this 11-2 here? I almost want to say, let's say whoever shot her with tranquilizers, right? There was actually a 50-50 chance that she could be saved here. So this is in the action. We have the presence, whoever did this is someone familiar, 24-6, someone she would see every day, 24-6, family member even. 15-6 can bring around boyfriend, husband. But whoever this person is very familiar, would physically see her every day. So here we go. In the +9, you see here 18-9 revealed. There's death in the air here already. And I have a sneaky suspicion because what would be May 8. Now I know he was away on a business trip and supposedly only comes back there, right? May 8. But in May 8, in the +9, there's issues even in the middle of that day. So here's the thoughts, homicide, death. He even knew already, or them, where he was going to bury her. 22-4. That's what I'm saying. There's a level of premeditation here. The premeditation is revealed in the +9 on the day, 27-9. This was intended. This was targeted. It wasn't some random guy walking past the house. Oh, by the way, while I was digging through your garage, I see that you guys have a tranquilizer gun and I'm going to use that to kill you. Even the night before, right? Now 26-8 is happening before, as the narrative goes, before the murder. Here's the murder here. The next day ends in murder. But the night before, there's a big argument here, 26-8. 26-8. So by the end of May 8, by the end of May 8, a decision was made. That's what I'm saying. In a murder situation, your day starts at 9. So whoever did this murder woke up that morning knowing there was going to be a murder. See here in the May 9, in the +9, hidden 14-5, 23-5. Now we said, because there's a 14-5, because all the 5s have been pinged on, he's got a 14-5. But what's the coincidence that he also has a 23-5? And this 23-5 in the year that he's born, so he's got a double 23-5, which is like, it must be 23-5. There's a hidden 23-5 here. The issue here, this is why I'm also getting the sense. 14-5 speaks about a grouping. So, and a grouping means more than 2 or more, but less than 9. There's a small grouping, hidden 23-5 community. I almost want to say band of brothers almost. 14-5 bad males in a group. And the outcome was premeditated murder. Now look what happens on the next morning. So from midnight of May 10 till sunrise, okay? So here's the murder. It happens in the dark. However, from midnight till sunrise, what is going on here? Look here. There's an operation going on, 19-10-1. Now, let's recap the narrative. The husband only called the police the next day. So before that phone call, what is going on here? 19-10-1. By someone familiar. 15-6, 24-6, and this is now confirmation that more than one person is involved. Because you can't have a communication with yourself, because a communication with yourself won't be at 28-10. So whoever committed this crime was speaking to someone else as well. And not to Suzanne. Because we have a 14-5, more than one, more than two even. By someone familiar, 28-10-1, 19-10-1. So already, in my opinion, and I believe the lover was in Michigan, but whoever committed this crime had an accomplice. There was purpose, 19-10-1, what they were going to do, because they had already decided what they were going to do. Here's it here, 22-4. And we know she was found underground, 22-4 earth. Here's it there, 22-4. And ironically, we have the 10-1s. He also has 10-1s. it has to be tested. I don't know if you can be retried or recharged or what, but more than one person involved. Premeditated, planned. So 28101, that confirms for me more than one person involved. Wherever they buried her, and I did read it somewhere, but wherever they buried her took place from midnight and before sunrise. So if there are CCTV footage in that area, they should actually look from sometime after sunset on May 9 up until sunrise May 10. Because whoever buried her would have buried her in that time zone. So from when the sun set and when the sun rose the next day, there must be footage of this operation. It's operational. And by the way, 14.5 in the middle, a lot of bullshit and lies going on. So lots of pings, unfortunately, on the partner, but my concern is also more than one person involved post the event, and possibly even was aware that something was going to happen. Whoever that accomplice is, whoever the accomplice is, has full knowledge of what happened in the scene. So in the discovery, the day before, she was discovered September 22, and then +1 for the September 23rd. So there's confirmation of Earth. And 22.4 also speaks about family. Family. So you'll recall these 28, 10, 1, 19, 10, 1, 10, 1. Look at these numbers here. It's reflected here as well. So hidden 33, yeah, this is what it is. Here's the tranquilizer, yeah, 31.4 that caused the death. So the tranquilizer caused the death, however, and I'm going to say it because it's now pinged on me enough times. It's going to be quite heavy. I believe she may have been tranquilized and buried alive. And the reason why I say that is we've got 2 death numbers here, right? When she was found. So 13.4, there's a death. Now, why would there be a death after a death? So, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a vet. How can you treat your partner like that? 31.4. So the tranquilizer definitely played a role in it, definitely. But I believe she may have been buried alive, actually. And when I started looking at this case, I always knew there's something terrible I was going to discover. And it's interesting with Suzanne here, because, while doing other cases, her video would always, I promise you, always show up. But I just felt there was something treacherous at the end of this journey, and that is this sequence here, 31.4, 13.4. See, here's confirmation of more than one person involved as well, 23.5. 14.5, definitely more than one person involved here, because you've got a collective 39.12.3 collective number, and it's a regular 39.12.3. We're dealing with an interpersonal relationship. 38.11.2, more than one person involved, chitter chatter. 37.10.1, chitter chatter, operational. There's at least 2 or 3 people involved here, without a doubt. I'll see if there's a match, but for her case, definitely murder, and I believe the coroner had said that in the report. I believe the tranquilizer, in my opinion, was 80% responsible, and being smothered underground would be the final, unfortunately. That's terrible, man. Imagine coming around and you realize you've been buried alive. So he has it even saying, yeah, in the intention, I think he intended for her to go have a horrible death. Look at you. In the intention, this is the time when they would have buried her. Look at all of these fours. So the universe is screaming, murder, unlawful, family connection, tranquilizer connection, murder, 18-9, by this person here, 18-9, in the exact same position, buried alive, confirmed again. Jesus. Look here, here's a further confirmation, buried alive, hidden, 21-3. So she was restrained underground to suffocate, 16-7, she suffocated to death. This is so terrible. I knew there was a bad thing here. It's taken me a while to do this case, but I knew there was something bad at the end of this case. She suffocated. 16-7, you'll recall she was buried here, in that zone there. 16-7, a suffocation. Asphyxiation, 16-7. So she was restrained, hidden underground by someone familiar, by others, and unfortunately, in my opinion, Suzanne, although the tranquilizer obviously was responsible for subduing her, 80%, but through lack of oxygen, I believe Suzanne may have passed while underground. That is shocking, man. And what lovely eyes. It's interesting, I may have mentioned this before, in other cases, when people have 9s in their date of birth, like she has an 18-9, you will look at someone with 9s in their charts, in their eyes, and you'll always see there's so much more going on behind the eyes, because 9s are, they're not daydreamers by any means, but they are thinkers. They are practical problem solvers, but they always do it in the mind first. And in the concaves of her mind are caves of thoughts and how she put her life in different boxes, if you want to call it that. But 18-9 is like a world behind the eyes. And in my opinion, with a couple that's out of sync their whole marriage, which in itself is sad, we do not part by death, but part by murder in this relationship, because she has an 18-9 in the year that she's born, and he has an 18-9. It's not to say that's how it should have been, no. But when you tweak the 5s the wrong way, particularly with the 55, they don't give a shit about anyone. They will tell you lies. They are the biggest bullshitters on the planet. Not all, depends where you put the lever. Not all, depends where you put the lever. Don't need to upset other 5s. But I'm just saying, when this goes sour this year, all these 5s, and you have these heavy 18-9, 27-9 numbers. The 50 outcome 5, for those that I need to reinforce with, is the type of person that will plan your murder. Here it is here, planned the day before. They will plan your murder, and they will sleep like a baby that night. They'll wake up in the morning thinking there's a nice big exercise to accomplish. Murder, 89, 27, 9, 89. Any takers, 89. They will plan your murder, sleep well, do the murder, and lie to the rest of the world, even their own children. Don't I know that? Alright, ladies and gentlemen, please leave your thoughts. I know it ends quite heavy. And I just knew when I was doing this case, or I started looking at this case, that it wasn't a straightforward murder, unfortunately. He made her suffer. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, please leave your thoughts and comments. I do appreciate them. If you have any information about the case, please send it through. That will help. And please stay safe, stay alert, peace and light, and may we remain humble in the presence of Spirit. Bye for now.